All right, I'm going to show you guys section 6.2 law of cosines. So we've seen the video on law of sines, and then finding area of triangles, which can be done anytime. So law of cosines looks kind of complicated. There's always students a little scared off when they first see it, but I want you to try to memorize the idea, then try to memorizing letters. Because if the triangle wasn't ABC, it was XYZ, could you still do this? It's the same thing, just replace them. But let me kind of explain the idea. Oh, real quick. Law of cosines is if you have all three sides, remember the side, 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 or a side angle side. The reason why we can't do law of cosines is we don't have an angle side pair. So if you look at this first example, I have only one angle, so I can't find the other angles, and I don't know the side across from it. But see how I have a side angle side. So this is where law of cosines comes in. What it will allow me to do is find the one missing side first. That's all I can find. So we're going to find side A. It's the only thing I can find using law of cosines at this time. So since I'm finding side A, technically I would use that formula that has side A solved for. But let me tell you what it kind of, I'll say the formula and I'll tell you what it means. So a squared equals b squared plus c squared. It looks just like Pythagorean theorem to start, okay? Minus 2bc. So the way I memorize it, these two sides are the other two sides, and these two sides are the same, bc. So whatever you put here, you got here, 2bc, and then cosine a. This angle is the same as this side. So when this is B, that's B. This is C, that's C. So once you get the idea, it's pretty easy. So let me just show you this one. So a squared, I'm looking for A. It's the other two sides squared. So 7 squared plus 4 squared minus 2 times those sides. So once I know those other two sides, you can just say, oh, it's 7 and it's 4 and so forth. So, and then you got cosine of 52. An error that some people do is they'll do sine for 2. But remember, this is law of cosines. So law of cosines, so we're going to use cosines. Okay? So I punch this on my calculator. Now the thing that people mess up is they do bad math. So let me kind of go through that real quick. This is 49 plus 16. Now those two I can add together. That will give me 65. But then the rest of it after the minus sign, this is all multiplication. So if you multiply these together here, you got 56 cosine of 52. The error that people will make is they'll go, oh, 65 minus 56 is 9 times no. We know order of operations, you multiply before you subtract. So when you type in your calculator, if you have a good calculator, you just type in 65 minus 56 times 52 cosine. Your calculator will not subtract until it does the cosine 52. Or, you type this in your calculator, get that done, and then do 65 minus it. Once you get this number, you take the square root. So what you should do is practice typing in at this time, see if you get the answer I have. I've already done the problem, and I got side A is 5.52. I gave hundreds this time, just to do something different, but in case, hey, what if we asked for the 100th? That's what it would look like, or 5.5, okay? So that's it. So test it out, punch this in your calculator. Don't forget to take the square root. A lot of people forget to take the square root. If you forget to take the square root, you'll be up in the 28 range, all right? Now remember some basic facts about triangles. You can't have one side way bigger than the other sides. It doesn't make any sense. The rule of thumb is the two smallest sides have to add up to be more than the third side. So this being 5.52, if that's 4 and that's 5.5, that ought to be about 9, greater than that one, okay? But it's like, let's say you wrote this one as 28. You're like, well, I got 28. Well, 4 plus 7 is 11. This side can't be more than 11. So the two other sides added together have to be more than that other side. So that's how you can kind of know, wait, I think I screwed up here. And that's, you forgot to take the square root or something like that, all right? So 5.52. All right, now once we have this side, again, if I use 5.5, I have a rounded value there. I now have an angle side pair. So now if I so choose, I can actually do law of cosines, okay? or excuse me, law of sines, sorry, law of sines. So I can do law of sines right now, but here's the issue. This is where this chapter can get a little complicated for some students. The angles in a triangle go between 0 and 180. So the thing about sine, if you remember the sine, it's positive in quadrant 1 and in positive quadrant 2. So let's say the angle is supposed to be 150. And if you take an arc sine of a half, your calculator will say 30, but really it's also 150. So which one does it mean? So only because the angles in a triangle go up to 180 and we're in quadrant 1 and 2, using law of sines, you have to be a little careful if you start the problem with cosines. If we go back to the other assignment, if we did law of sines to start, no big deal. But if we do start with law of cosines, then you may have some issues that you have to deal with, okay? So the issues are, you should always find the smallest one first. So again, what I mean by the smallest angle, the 4 is across B, 7 is across C. So B is a little smaller than 4. If you find the smallest, because law of sines, the calculator will always find the angle in quadrant 1, so it always finds the smallest angle. So since law of sines works, we don't have to worry about, oh, is it the right value? You can just find the smallest one first, okay? So in this picture here, or I could do law of cosines. Again, now we'll have no issues, all right, with the 3 sides. All right, so let's go ahead and find B since it's the smallest one next. So we'll do law of sines. So sine of B, now remember when I said law of sines, you can put the sides on top or the angles. And if you notice in the notes, I always had the sides on top because I was looking for sides. But right now I'm looking for an angle. So I like to put whatever I'm looking for on top. So sine of B over the side 4. And the pair I know is these two, sine of 52 over 5.5. So I'm doing law of sines, but again, I have to be consistent on both sides. If I put the angles on top on this side, I got to put the angles on top on that side. So sine of B over 4. So again, I can do any pair. I can multiply by 4. And punch in my calculator. Whoa, knock everything over. And I got angle B is 34.8. So now I have that angle. Now I only have to do it twice. Whatever I do, I have to do twice, because the third angle is what's left over. Say my brain, 93.2. And then you find the third side, because they have to add to 180. Now here's something to check if you're doing a good job. The biggest the angle, the bigger the side. So 93, 7, 34 is the smallest, so it has 4, 52 is in the middle, has 5.5. The bigger angle has bigger side in all triangles, always. So you can always kind of check if you're doing good. So I feel very comfortable with that problem. All right, I'm going to show you guys my eraser that fell. Try another problem. All right, we did the side angle side, so let's do side, side, side. 10, 8, 15. Let's see if I label them all the same. Perfect. All right, so there's 3 sides of a triangle. So side, side, side. So I have the 3 sides, so now I got to find an angle. Which angle do I find first? Well, remember sine only finds smaller ones on the second step. So what we recommend is find the biggest angle, because cosine is positive 1 and negative in 2, the quadrants. So cosine will differentiate what quadrant you're supposed to be in, the right angle. So if you find the biggest one first, then you have to think the rest of the problem. You can just solve. All right. So the biggest angle is B. Clearly, it's across the biggest side. Now, how do I do the formula? Well, since I'm finding angle B, technically I'm using this one's got B in it. But the way I just memorize it is I'm looking for this angle right here. He's across this side. So start with that side. So start with the side across from here. So 15 squared. The other 2 sides squared minus 2 times those other 2 sides. And I'm looking for B, so cosine B. All right. So what's got to happen here now is I got to find B. So some people will actually take the formula for you and give you the solved version of it. That's up to you if you want to start doing the math and solve that. It's just, but then you're just practicing plugging in. I think it's great to learn to solve from here. So this is 225. This is 164 minus, what is that, 160 cosine B. So these are adding and subtracting. So I could take this 164 and subtract it over here, okay? So what is that going to give me, 61? So this is 164. So all right. So if I subtract this 164 over here, I get positive, 61, and then I divide by negative 160. And I push that into my calculator. So I did it before. Hopefully I don't have any errors there. 112.4. We can see how it's the biggest angle, so it was pretty big, 112. Well, I know the other two now are less than, you can't, the biggest angle of the triangle, then everything else has to be an acute angle, so lost sines works great. So you can find either one you want to, but if you want to stay in the tradition of always finding the smallest one, go for it. So we just find angle A next. So I gotta do sine of A, so I'm gonna do law of sines. Again, I could do law of cosines if I feel like it. A little harder, second time maybe, but sine of A over 8. So again, I put angle over the side, and then I can, again, this is the pair I know. I know the angle on the side. So sine of 112.4 over 15. All right. So solving for sine of A, I multiply by 8. All right. Now you're going to get a value here. It's sine of A equals, remember, so we take an arc sine of both sides. What you're technically doing, after you get a value here, you're taking an arc sine -1. That cancels out, so you get angle A. So again, punch that on your calculator first. You're going to get a nice decimal. Push second sine, arc sine, and I got angle A to be 29.5. All right. And then now you got 2 down. You just got to find the third angle. Again, save me some brain power, 38.1 degrees. And once you got 2 angles, you can always find the third. So if you were given side, 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 you can pick which angle to find. I always just find the biggest first. Saves me a lot of issues. If you're given side angle side, the only thing you can find is the opposite missing side, like I showed you in the first example. All right. So that's kind of the key, is how to finish those. Is a good rule of thumb. If you start a problem, law of cosines, if you do the next thing in law of cosines, you'll have no issues ever. The ones that are law of sines will just continue to be law of sines. But I find it easier to do law of sines. So once I do law of cosines, then I will do law of sines for the second one, just because it's a little faster. All right. Now remember, the last week was on area. I can find the area once it's completed, whichever corner I feel. So for example, I feel like that corner. So the area is 1/2. Remember, side times side, 10 times 15 times sine of 29.5. Or I can do this corner, 1/2, 15 times 8 times sine of 38.1. All right, so those are the different options I have for area. Again, I could have done that corner, and all of them will give you the same value. They may be slightly off. You might get, say, an area of 102.5, another one might be 102.9, and you're like, well, they gave me a different answer. It's because you're using rounded values. So if you're really good with your calculator, you learn how to store values in your calculator, and you never use a rounded value, then you'll have the exact same no matter which method you do. All right, so there's law of cosines.